5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm from a place where the girls are always looking pretty. You might have heard of us, we call it Shy City. We build champions here who define gritty. We don't do excuses, we don't do pity. Rose is coming back stronger, that's a guarantee. Cutler's coming back too, he's beastly. Throwing it to Marshall, the title's ours easily. Black Hawks are winning titles, trophy looking massive. Don't forget about the Cubs, Sox, Crosstown Classic. With so much greatness, we gotta show bravado. You got your boys Ambro and Mike Mercado.
Hello boys and girls, this is the Chicago Beat on WICB Chicago. I am Mike Mercado and it is a beautiful summer day here in the city of Chicago. It is June 25th, 2012. And if you want to follow the show and interact with us, we're everywhere in the universe. If you're on Twitter, we're at mmercado2333, Facebook /MikeMercado2333, and even on YouTube /MikeMercado2333. And the big story this weekend is on the south side of Chicago as the Chicago White Sox traded for third baseman from the Boston Red Sox, Kevin Youkilis. This is an interesting trade. If you're looking at it from the GM standpoint, you didn't give up a lot. Nothing that you're going to cry over. You get some help at third base. Here's the problem. Here's the good and the bad. Like I said, you're getting a legitimate bat at third base. Problem is it's a 217 at batting average right now. Now, maybe in a change of scenery and having Adam Dunn and Paul Konerko in the lineup too, that might change things a little bit. He might get pitched at a little bit more often. But my biggest concern is since 2009, I don't think he hasn't played over 140 games. So you have to hope that his body's going to, keep up throughout this whole regular season. And this division is still within grasp. The White Sox took first place again after taking 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. So they're trying to work their way out of it. You're seeing that they're in desperate need of more hitting and even more pitching. I mean, you got Danks on the DL. Gavin Floyd hasn't done anything. Phil Humber, I've absolutely told you guys, should not be on this rotation. But due to injury, you have no choice. And even he's been hurt. Jake Peavy obviously could be the starter for the AL All-Star team. But every time he throws a pitch, he's one more pitch away from throwing his arm with it. It's not as clear-cut as a regular trade it is. It's a blockbuster in the sense of Chicago baseball right now. But is it enough to get them over and into the playoffs? Because we're still waiting for that Jekyll and Hyde team in Detroit to make some noise. And like I said, Cleveland, that's a roller coaster in its own. Every single year, it's one thing or another. It's they start hot, they finish cold. Start cold, they finish hot. Minnesota is the American League Cubs. So big move to solidify a position, but enough to get them over the top is still what we have to wait out for the season. Now, the White Sox need to get these wins to make some room in the division, because this is the time right now. And you're seeing it around baseball, that you're starting to see the teams really bottom out and the good teams come back up, at least in my opinion. That's what I'm noticing in baseball. You could look at the box score all you want. And here on WICB and on the Chicago Beat, we don't like that. Secret producer man yells at me anytime I really bring up a lot of stats, because stats lie to you. Stats are as nice numbers as they are sometimes, as much case as you can make. You can't argue what you see when you're watching the game, and you can see storylines within that. Now, they do have a place in it, but right now, when it comes to the White Sox, stats aren't going to help anything. It's inconsistency, and you just see that from the games. You don't see that from a box score. But they get some help. They're playing Minnesota tonight. Yeah, I think the White Sox are going to take this series. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. The problem is you can't go on losing streaks like that where you're losing 2 out of 3 to the Cubs. That just can't happen. Right now, thank you, Secret Producer Man, we're taking a look at the American League Central Division playoff push only on WICB and the Chicago Beat. And in first place, your Chicago White Sox at 38-34 have a half-game lead over Cleveland at 37-34. 3 games over Detroit, who are still 2 games under 500 at 35-37. Kansas City 31-39. Minnesota bringing up the bottom at 29-42. And around the American League, you have the Texas Rangers at 45-28. 5 games over the LA Angels. And in the American League East, you have the New York Yankees with a 2.5 game lead over the Baltimore Orioles, 3.5 over the Tampa Bay Rays, 5.5 over Boston, 6.5 over Toronto, and all these teams are over 500. And the WICB playoff standings watch on the National League, you have Cincinnati with a 1-game lead over Pittsburgh. Yeah, the Pittsburgh Pirates are at second place with 38-33. St. Louis is 2 games behind Cincinnati at 38-35. Milwaukee 6.5. 6 games under 500, 33-39. You have to think they're missing the bat at Prince Fielder. Houston at 30-42, and the Chicago Cubs 24-48, 15.5 games back. It is June 21st, and these guys have won 24 games. We'll get to that in a second. The Dodgers are 43-30, 3 games over the San Francisco Giants, who are still trying to find their wins. Tim Lincecum hasn't won a game yet in June, so we're still waiting for that. And the Washington Nationals, yeah, I know, the young kids, 41-29, 3.5 game lead over the New York Mets, who are 39-34. The Atlanta Braves are 38-34, 4 games back. The most overrated team in baseball, the Miami Marlins, 34-38, 8 games back. And the Philadelphia Phillies are 34-40. Now going on to the north side, things are rough. But Anthony Rizzo, the savior, the gem for the Theo Epstein era, is coming up tomorrow against the New York Mets. I just want to say, don't put any pressure on this kid. Let him develop, let him get his at-bats. What's the rush? What's the worry about trying to get this kid to save our team right now? Because at 15 games behind the first place team in Cincinnati, having won 25 games, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So develop these guys. Make the trades you need to. As far as I'm concerned, everybody's on the block. Everybody. Starlin Castro, Jeff Smart, everybody is on the block. Your 24 wins in June 25th. You're on WICB and the Chicago Beat.
You're listening to WICB with Mike Mercado.
A city that has diehards who know when their teams are bad and know when their teams are good. And yet every single day they go to the stadium.
And that's the Beat.
I hope everybody had a beautiful weekend. You're on WICB and the Chicago Beat. Don't forget you can follow us at Twitter at mmercado2333. We're on Facebook /MikeMercado2333 and on YouTube /MikeMercado2333. Now, over the weekend, Jerry Sandusky was found guilty of 45 of 48 counts of sexual abuse on children. Now, I don't want to really get into the story about what he did, because that's a disgusting story. You go online and read it, ESPNChicago.com, 670thescore.com, ESPN, NBC, Yahoo, everywhere. You could read the testimony, the grand jury. And I think the biggest thing that I've taken out of all of this is myself personally never being good enough of an athlete to hit that collegiate level and even certain levels in high school. But I played sports my whole life. All me and my brothers did. Everybody that I know, my friends. And there's something about it. Growing up, it was a family thing. Every Saturday, Sunday, whatever sport it was, the afternoon we'll go to the games, we'll play. Afterwards, we go do dinner. It's a family activity. And you like to think something like that, out of all the problems in the world, out of all the evil that's out there, something as innocent as sports, where hard work, dedication, belief, teamwork are all instruments that are used to teach us to become better people and to think that there's monsters out there. And you can't be blinded by it, because there are there. And it's a sad world where you have to worry about your son or daughter when they go to practice. I did it so many times and without a care in the world. Nothing ever happened to me, but I'm one of the lucky ones. And that's what it's becoming nowadays, one of the lucky ones. Because there's sick monsters out there who continue to do that. And what's worse is you see some of the fans, how they first reacted when they heard the news about Paterno getting fired and these allegations coming out. Imagine if it was your child coming up to you and telling you something happened to them, somebody touched them, somebody did something to them, and you didn't believe them. And if you did try to report it to somebody, they were hiding it. We're talking about kids and a sick man who used a football team in his manipulative, sick way to get pleasure off of heinous acts. And in a world of sports where it's supposed to be as white and black as anything, you get things like this. And people need to be aware. And I think that's the biggest thing people need to take out of this. Because there's never going to be closure. There's never going to be closure for the victims. Sandusky will go to jail, he'll rot, and he'll die. Go to hell, and that's what's going to happen. But these victims will never have closure. So we need to take this as a learning lesson. To keep our eyes open, to communicate, and to listen. To listen and watch for the warning signs. Because this happens way too much. We all have to do our part and be vigilant about it. You're on WICB and the Chicago Beat.
Fade away. Let me step back and kiss myself. MVP time. Windy City is assassin does it again.
Live from WICB Radio.
Inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
This is
It's a goal. The Stanley Cup to the Chicago Blackhawks.
Chicago's Beat.
This is the #1 internet talk show about Chicago sports. You're on WICB in the Chicago Beat. I am Mike Mercado. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. It's beautiful outside. Hopefully everybody can get out of work safely and enjoy the rest of their day. Now, some of the news coming out of also this weekend is about the Chicago Bulls. The Miami Heat have won the NBA Finals. I'm moving on from that. Now it's time to get back to the Bulls. There's been information coming out that Luol Deng's on the trading block. Whether this has to do with him being on the Olympic team or not, that's going to be on a story that we're going to get into later on. But for right now, the idea of trading him for a top 5 pick. Some people are saying Golden State. We've already heard, if you're listening to ESPN Chicago or 670, most of the big Chicago beat reporters and writers have said that's out the window. That's just not going to happen. The interesting one would be Sacramento. They have cap room. Some talking about Tyreek Irvin, some talking about the #5 pick. Again, that's all logistics that we'll get into closer to the draft, which is this Thursday on ESPN. Anthony Davis going #1 to the New Orleans Hornets. So that's going to be the big story leading up to that we'll get into. But Luol Deng coming back, if he needs a surgery, come back in February. This is why I don't like when people are saying count this Bull season out as it is. If they come back in February, get in shape by April, you will have your full team by playoff push, by May. Now, I'm not saying you're going to win an NBA title this year, but you're still going to make the playoffs. Tell me 7 other teams that are going to make the playoffs over the Chicago Bulls right now. It's hard. It's hard to. You know the obvious teams that are going to be on there. I'm not saying it's clear cut the Bulls are going to be a 4 seed walking into the playoffs. Not at all. They might back in at number 7 or 8, but you're still in it, and you still got your guys. So if you're going to go and trade Luol Deng to get some cap room for 2 years when you amnesty Carlos Boozer, and you have $34 million on the books to be able to go get a free agent to play with Omer Sheik and Todd Gibson and Derrick Rose and Mirotic and the Bobcats pick eventually. Yeah, I could get it. I get it. Maybe even Joakim if he's still around. He's another one who's on the trading block. We'll get to him later on this week. We're going to try to break down this Bull season leading up into this draft to see what they do because there's going to be moves to be made. I can feel it. It just seems like it. After seeing Miami win, seeing what Oklahoma City Thunder did to the Chicago Bulls, and what Miami did to them. Now, I've been on the record to say I think the Bulls would have beaten Miami in the first, second round. If they had played Miami at that point, the Bulls would have had beaten the Miami Heat. Now, if they had met them how Miami was playing in the conference finals and in the finals, absolutely not. Actually, I'll take that back. Probably in the conference finals, they would have beat them too if they would have played that way. If Miami would have played the way they did against Boston, against Chicago, absolutely the Bulls would have beaten them. But no team is beating the Miami Heat if they play like they did in the NBA Finals. Nobody. And that's why I think the Bulls are really looking into doing some sort of a move to get ready over the next few years and still be competitive. Because that's where it comes down to. You still need to be competitive, but you need to think about the future. And that's where this NBA has become. It's become 5-year pockets. There's no more dynasties. Sports aren't dynasties anymore. It's 5-year pockets, how you determine your team. That's why the Angels deal with Albert Pujols. Some say it's a great deal, some say it's a stupid deal. Because you know the first 5 years is what you're getting everything off of. The last 5 years is for if he breaks a home run record. So everything's built in 5-year pockets. I like Luol Deng. I remember when they drafted him with Chris Duhon and Ben Gordon, the start of the Baby Bulls, that eventually made it to the playoffs and ran against Boston and played against, Miami and just some of the great series before the Derrick Rose era and the Tom Thibodeau era. Should be interesting. One way or the other, there's work to be done at the Bertle Center. Oh, God. I don't even want to get into it. Now you're going to... Eddie Curry's got a ring, guys. Now we're going to get into... I'm not going to do it. Secret producer, man, you're upsetting me because you're laughing right now. And he's a stupid Miami Heat fan. And I hate him so much. Everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Chicago Beat. I am Mike Mercado. Don't forget, visit WICB.com or visit the Illinois Center for Broadcasting.com if you want to get into a career in broadcasting. Guys, I enrolled in 2010. It is 2012, and I've been applying to ESPN, NBC, Fox. You think about it, you can do it. Just visit ICB.com and enroll or set up an interview today. For Secret Producer Man, for all my Twitter followers, for all you guys for listening on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're listening, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow, only here on WICB